Season 2023-24 has now started. We've seen media day. Training camp starts this week. So we're getting going. So we have a lot to unpack, before the season starts, before we start getting into player performances, things like that. First off on the list, we have to talk about the Jrue Holiday trade from the Portland Trail Blazers to the Celtics. Completes essentially the whole Damian Lillard trade. How does that impact the Celtics, and could we possibly see Bucks Celtics Eastern Conference Finals matchup? We're gonna give our media day reactions, just the things that we heard, um, including Kawhi Leonard. He said some things about the new load management policy. We all know about that rule. We'll get more into that. James Harden was a no-show, which to most people isn't too much of a surprise. So we're gonna look more into what could possibly happen with James Harden, Daryl Morey, and the Philadelphia 76ers. Um, then we're going to kind of look at Paris Olympics 2024. We know it's a bit ways away, but obviously at Media Day this week, a lot of the media thought that it was appropriate to ask players about that. So we're going to kind of do a fun little game with that, make our own roster, talk about the players that we could possibly see next summer in Paris for the Olympics. What's up, everybody? This is Ballin Out, Sean Robinson, Grant Rhodes. Grant, like I said, getting into the NBA season, man. How excited are you?
Dude, I mean, you already know, man. Basketball is probably our thing there. I mean, we probably talk the most about it for sure. Besides Michigan State rivalry, NBA is like the big. We like just it's always going on. Everyone's always involved with. I think all of us grew up playing basketball for the most part, so it's like we all got that. The love for the game. We all like it so much, and so I'm excited. We both got pretty good teams this year. I'm thinking I'm hopeful on my team. I know you're very hopeful on your team,
Man.
like every year, but I feel bad for you already. Um, yeah, but it's going to be fantastic. We already got some big trades, like we were kind of talking about. Obviously, last episode talking about that Dame trade. Uh, Looking forward to seeing that, and then kind of that latter half of the trade there, like you were talking about with Jrue Holiday going over to the Celtics, which is I thought that was very very interesting. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
think we all knew obviously he was getting moved from the Blazers. That wasn't going to be his permanent home, but yeah, the Celtics. I was just like, oh my goodness. Okay, so we get. I think we really get to see some competition there in the East, and I know. I'll just come out and say this right now. I know you kind of alluded to the fact that is this going to potentially be a Eastern Conference Finals matchup? I would put $100 that yes. If injuries aside, of course, unless major injuries happen, there is nobody from the East that is going to come out and compete with either one of those two teams. Well, we'll get into the Sixers a little bit more. We'll kind of get into that as much, but Sixers, I don't think they're going to be able to compete essentially with either one of those teams. The Hawks aren't going to. I mean, you name it, you're just not. You're not going to get the Miami Heat. They're not going to be able to. This new look Jimmy, I just I don't see them getting it done. So early, kind of very early, I should say. Prediction is going to be Bucks and Celtics, no question. Eastern Conference Finals.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's ironic that it was so funny that that trade happened. I remember one of my brothers. He's a big Celtics fan, and so obviously I was right there with him. I had to tell him, let him know the news, and he was just like, "What?" And I was like, "Yeah." And the first thing I thought about was how in the last episode when we talked about Dame, I sat there and cooked the Celtics and said, "Who's gonna guard Damian Lillard? I said something about Derek White, the presence that they didn't have Marcus Smart anymore." And what do you know? About
Uh,
2 days later, he gets traded to the Boston Celtics, so it kind of solved that problem. Uh, let's just get more into this trade. Basically, um, we all knew that Drew Holiday, once he got traded from the Bucks to the Portland Trailblazers, that Drew Holiday was going to get moved. He was going to go somewhere else. So two team trade, just the Celtics and the Portland Trailblazers. The Celtics are traded Robert Williams, Malcolm Brogdon, a 2024 Golden State first, a 2029 unprotected Boston first, the Blazers. And the Blazers obviously gave away Jrue Holiday to the Boston Celtics. So, like you said, just initial reaction was just like, wow, I feel like this definitely helps the team. Like this, like no question. The big question, like I mentioned, was Marcus Smart. How are they going to? He was that defensive guy. He was that defense presence, that they had and they needed. And the question was, how is he going to be able to? How are the Celtics going to be able to move on? Without that defensive-minded guard. But they got Jrue Holiday, who is an NBA champion. He's an All-Star. He's proven he can win games, not only on the defense side but on the offensive side a couple times too. I feel like he definitely elevates this Boston Celtics team. We already saw they got Kristaps Porzingis earlier this past summer. Obviously, that was a big deal. Yes, you do lose Robert Williams, so you lose a little bit of defense in the interior, but I mean, you have Kristaps, and you still got old man Al Horford over there. So maybe maybe he'll be able to block some shots, turn the clock back 10 years. I don't know, but just how could this basically improve the Celtics? Not only for standings wise during the regular season, but obviously the playoffs.
Yeah, so I mean, kind of like you were saying, it's funny, like you said, they needed someone to guard Dame, and they took that personally. They said, "All right, bet let's go get someone," and so they did, and they got arguably probably one of the better defenders in the league. I mean, I know after if anyone's watching like those podcasts where they have any of those NBA players on, they talk about who's some of the guys that have given you the toughest matchup or who's guarded you the toughest, and you always hear his name tossed around a lot. So like that shows a lot to kind of how he carries himself on the defensive end, which is going to be essential. I mean, because we were talking about it. How do you stop this Bucks team, right? Dame with the pick and roll with Giannis, that's going to be tough to stop right there. Because if you're stopping Giannis right there, everything in the paint, that leaves Dame wide, essentially cooking from the 3-point line. And so with the addition of Jrue Holiday there, you're going to get that just defensive edge that I think it's definitely going to push them to that next limit. But also, you got to think too is Drew Holiday's comments were like, "I want to be a Buck for life. I want to be here forever." And then they kind of kicked him to the curb. They said, "All right, we want Dame," and that's essentially what happened. And so you kind of think that there's like a little kind of like, okay, like I bet like you get him, I'll go here, and it's gonna be like I mean, 'cause I think that's gonna be like the competition in the East. So it's like I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that Drew Holiday kind of he might take that little extra chip on the shoulder there and just say, hey, like I'm gonna go out here and like I want to beat you guys specifically. Like I want to absolutely dominate.
Yeah, yeah. It's funny you say that because that was one of the things that I was kind of thinking about just before he did get traded from the Trailblazers. It was like, because I saw like the 76ers and the Bucks, and you saw the Heat, and you're like, really? Like, was he going to be traded to an East Conference rival like that? Yeah, I mean, he did. He got traded to the Boston Celtics. I feel like, yeah, he does have a little bit of chip on his shoulder. I feel like he's going to help elevate that Boston Celtics team mentally. Like they're gonna like we've seen them in the past, the Celtics in the last couple of years. They go to the Eastern Conference Finals, they lose, win, lose. So I feel like he can give them that extra, get them over the hump. Does it mean that they're going to win the finals, win it all? I mean, we saw them go 2 years ago against the Warriors. If you would have switched Marcus Smart with Jrue Holiday, I still don't think that Celtics would have won that finals. I don't know. I just feel like Steph Curry was on a mission. That Warriors team was on a mission. just that whole postseason. But I mean, Drew Holiday, he's not a bad player. 19.3 points last year, 7.4 assists, 5 rebounds, and about a steal. Shooting 38.4% from three. So I mean, he can shoot. He's not a light out shooter, but like he can shoot. It's about the same that you got from Marcus Smart. You're gonna most likely gonna get like the same game you did from Marcus Smart from Drew Holiday. Like their games are kind of similar. Drew, you could say he's a little bit better of an efficient shooter, but they're gonna get the same player. And Drew, I think he's a little bit taller as well. So I definitely think that them going up against just the Bucks specifically because of the chip on the shoulder, yeah, big time, big time. I think he does, but it'll be interesting to see. This is just me, but I feel like the trades aren't done yet. I feel like there's going to
Oh,
be
definitely not. Yeah, definitely not.
somebody in the East is going to make some big splash, whether it's middle of the season, trade deadline. Somebody's gonna do something to switch things, and I think it's interesting because I feel like these two teams right here, the Bucks and the Celtics, I think they're 1 and 2. They're going to be, unless there's a big injury to one of these players on the team, I feel like this is 1 and 2 all year. And then you have the Cavs and the Sixers going for 3 and 4, but I don't see anybody really competing with the Bucks or the Celtics this year, as
Yeah,
far as
no,
the
absolutely
Eastern
not.
Conference.
Yeah, no, I agree, but also Drew Holiday is definitely better than Marcus Smart. Just he's
Oh,
definitely gonna take he's definitely taking him to that next. I think he's gonna take him to that next spot. Just I like what you said too. Is like that mentality wise too. Like Marcus Smart also brought like a different type, kind of like more just like a dog mentality, kind of just like that tough, like grind it out. Like not that Drew Holiday doesn't. It's just like a Marcus Smart's a little more petty with it. I'll say just like
yeah,
kind of
yeah.
stuff like
No, I get that. I get that. I get
like
that.
kind of
Yeah.
like a more like that Pat Bev energy, like kind of like that. Like you just and you to a point you kind of need that like on your team, like someone that's just gonna go out there, kind of get in the opponent's head and all that. But just Drew Holiday is a phenomenal playmaker. He can, I mean, like you said, he's not like a knockdown shooter, but that team is just full of shooters. So I mean,
Hmm.
he's able to just dish you. He's able to space it out, dish it out to anybody. I mean, Drew Holiday's, like you said, decent shooter. Jaylen Brown can shoot. Tatum's obviously a phenomenal shooter. Goat Zingas, that's all he does is just shoot the three. And then Big Al. I mean, Big Al's back there just launching those things. So I mean, you're basically gonna have, I mean, just a team full of shooters, which will be that's always kind of like what you want, I guess, like in the modern game, I'll call it. But definitely, I think it's gonna be interesting. But I also think the Bucks are gonna be interesting too, just kind of seeing how, just especially how they run that pick and roll with Giannis and Dame. Because I think if you're
Hmm.
running that against Porzingis, I don't know, I can see some liability issues there. So that's why I'd still lean toward the Bucks there. I definitely think this brought the Celtics like on that same pedestal almost. So like I mean, I think this will be a phenomenal series, truly.
Yeah. Yeah. I think so. Real quick, I just wanna I wanna ask you who, on paper right now, who has the better starting five? I'm gonna give starting five and then the benchman, the
I
six man.
bet.
So I'll start with the Bucks. So we have Damian Lillard, Pat Connaughton, Chris Middleton, Giannis, Brooke Lopez, and Bobby Portis as a six man.
Arkansas
For the
Razorbacks.
Celtics, you'll have Drew Holiday, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, Kristaps Porzingis, and Al Horford as a six man. Just hearing those two, starting five, and one guy off the bench, who do you think has the edge?
I mean, I would give it to the Bucks just because I think there's just a little more star power there,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean, both teams have gotten to that championship. The Bucks have actually gotten it done, which is kind of why I just Giannis knows how to get that to that next step, and I think Tatum definitely can get there, but just with the addition of like adding Dame to an already like extremely like hungry roster, like
Oh yeah.
I think you have to give it to those, and I think it's really because of those that dynamic duo really with those stars, because then that just allows Chris to shine a little bit better. And I just like I don't. Drew Holiday is fantastic. I think it's really going to be still Tatum, who is obviously we know he's fantastic, an MVP caliber type of player. He does have it in him like that. But Jaylen Brown, I don't think he's like that guy. I mean, he's got one arm
He's iffy
basically.
at
It looks like
times, especially in the
yeah,
playoffs. He's iffy.
well, he's only got his right arm, which is it's just kind of hard to play
I was
basketball
just
like
about to
that.
say that. Yup.
So like it's
Yup.
kind of tough when you only got one arm. So it's like
Yup.
you got him, and then just Drew Holiday's not like that, lighted up type of scorer. Like I mean, you still have Tatum to do that and distribute it. And like I said again, it's tough because I can see like I think their offense is going to be phenomenal. I think they're going to be so good still. I really it just comes down to really that pairing of Dame and Giannis being able to run that pick and roll, that pick and fade, and then still have Chris Middleton as kind of that third option. Like I think just saying Chris Middleton as the third option, I mean
Yep.
that shows a lot right there because he was a second option on a championship team. So
Yeah. Yeah. And you mentioned options. It'll be interesting to see where Drew Holiday ends up. Is he going to be the third or the fourth option for the Celtics? Because it's really between him and Porzingis for that third, fourth option. I feel like it's gonna depend night to night, just based on games. I feel like that depending on the matchup, that's who it's gonna be. But obviously, like you said, Tatum and Brown are gonna be the top two guys.
yeah, I mean Porzingis just if he gets back to like that like if he got to get back to like those like early like first year drafted Knicks days when he was like a defensive menace
Oh yeah.
and you could actually like I mean he was I mean basically like, every putback I feel like he was just there. Like I mean it was insane. And I think if you get that, which again, this is all hypotheticals. I don't see this happening. I would love to see it happen because I was dumb enough to get his jersey, but like I actually like Porzingis. I thought it was cool. I thought he was like just an insanely good player because he could do it both ways. And now I don't. He really just to me I just see him sticking around the perimeter just shooting up threes. It doesn't seem like he's really that aggressive mentality, put back dunks that he used to be. And so if we were to get that, and if I were to see that this year, I don't know. I could potentially see me changing my mind about that Bucks and Celtics because I think if you add essentially that type of star caliber player as the third option, second option, potentially even if Brown really starts kind of selling,
Mm-hmm.
then I think that could be interesting. But again, I don't really see that happening.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, if we get All Star Chris Stapps back, yeah, I think. I mean, the Celtics pose a real threat. Last year, he didn't even play that bad, really. Obviously, he was with the Wizards, so it wasn't like that too big of a deal. He was kind of under the radar, but last season he showed signs that he's. I'm not gonna say all star, right there, but he's getting progression. He's playing a little bit more assertive. At least that's what I saw from the games and things that I saw from him last season with the Wizards. So I don't know.
See, that's why I
Speaking
mean, I
of,
hope so. I hope so. As long as if he's not going to be like that, if it's like that third option kind of just sits in the corner. I could see it being like, okay, not good. But if he gets that aggressive mentality, they give it to him down low. I mean, the dude's 7'3" for a reason. Like, come on
hmm
now. But
yeah,
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 carry on though.
yeah. He mentions this week at media day, how he was excited to kind of be refreshed, be on a championship caliber team. Which takes us right into media day. Was this past Monday. Um, some things were said by players. We saw some familiar faces and new places. Starting with Fred VanVleet to the Rockets. We saw Jordan Poole with the Wizards. Chris Paul, which was a weird one. I mean, like that was actually like I saw videos of that, like him bouncing the ball, and I was like, yeah, that's gotta take some time to get used to. The first time I see the Warriors this season, seeing Chris Paul and Draymond Green on the court at the same time, that's gonna be interesting. Which he said something about that, which is kind of the first thing I want to talk about. The big question this summer when Chris Paul did get traded to the Warriors was, will he be in that starting lineup? And I watched the clip yesterday. I watched Draymond Green. He was at media day, and I don't know the exact question, but the question was surrounding Chris Paul, if he'll be able to fit in that starting lineup with those guys, Wiggins, Clay, Steph, Draymond, Looney, if he could be able to replace one of them. And I kind of laughed when I watched it because he was like, we had the best starting lineup last year in the NBA. And Chris Paul is Chris Paul, and he was like, basically, he was like, no disrespect, Chris Paul, but we have to do what's best for the team. And so it was like a 2 minute answer that he had, and I watched the thing, and I was just like, this is gonna be so funny in 2 months when Draymond is the one coming off the bench and stuff, and Chris Paul is the one starting.
Oh
I
no,
was
you
like,
think they're gonna do
that,
him
that
like
if
that?
that actually happens, so many people are going to just quote tweet that. It's gonna be ridiculous. But those were just some of the things from media day. We heard LeBron James yesterday say that the Lakers is Anthony Davis's team. I don't know about that. We heard a couple guys like Anthony Davis say that he's going to play 82 games this year. I saw Paul George. He said that he's going to try and play all games this year. And
He didn't say he's gonna
Kawhi
play
Leonard, he
all.
said he's healthy, ready to go. So those injury prone guys that we always see. And I kind of want to say something about Kawhi Leonard. So obviously we know that the NBA made this new player partition policy specifically targeting stars like Leonard, Paul George, who have been like an All-Star and All NBA selection in either of the previous 3 seasons. So basically, the new policy is you're going to get fined if you do not play a certain amount of games. Um, the participation policy, people were saying how it was, yes, like they liked it, but at the same time, like you can't just sit out, to tank, So we won't see like the Trailblazers how they just came out and said basically that they asked Dame to sit out for the last 10 games of the season, so they could tank. We that's not allowed anymore because the teams are going to get fined. And that's what people were saying, like Kawhi Leonard and Paul George were just sitting games, taking them off, because they didn't feel like it. I didn't believe that. I know obviously you have your thoughts on that, anyways, but basically, a media person asked Kawhi Leonard, how do you feel? What are your thoughts on the policy? Will we see you play more games this year? And the first thing, obviously, as Kawhi goes, what are they? He was just like, I just don't know the policy. Like, what's the policy? And he said it, and basically, he stated he was like, when he was with the Raptors, it was different. He was coming off injury. He was going, off the doctor, so he wasn't just, sitting out games, to rest because he was tired or something like that. He said, if I'm able to play basketball, I'll play basketball. I'll work out every day in the summertime to play the game, not to sit and watch people play. No league policy is helping me to play more games. Basically telling the league to, obviously, but I mean, what are just your thoughts on just the policy, Kawhi Leonard's comments, and those things?
I mean, I like the policy because I've had multiple times where either my brother or somebody I know they go to a game or something like that, and somebody's sitting out because they don't feel like playing basketball today.
Um, I am a culprit of that. Last year, I
Yep,
got robbed of Kawhi Leonard not playing.
Kawhi
So
Leonard. Oh, so the
yeah,
culprit himself. So
yeah, yeah.
yeah, so that's what just like I mean, okay, because here's the thing, because like if Kawhi is genuinely actually hurt to the point where like he cannot play basketball, like physically just cannot, then okay. But I don't believe he's. I think he's at the point where I think he's milking it. I think he's a little baby, to be completely honest. He's sitting up in the suite. He's watching the game. He's doing all this. I don't see why he can't go out there. I mean, it's kind of a joke, to be honest with you. You almost expect that
A
he's not going to
joke.
play. It is. It's a joke. It is a straight up joke. I mean, honestly, the Kawhi and Paul George too. Matter of fact, uh, Paul George isn't as bad, but like there is just Kawhi was. I say was. He was a superstar in this league. I should wear it. I have his jersey actually in my closet. You know this too. You know I got that jersey
Oh
when
yeah,
he
no, I
was
do.
in
And
29.
what was though? He still is. He still
No,
is.
no, was to be a superstar, you have to consistently rise above the rest. You have to consistently be there. Kawhi is consistently out from the game. He's consistently not playing from the game. And I mean, at this point, well, I mean, is he going to play more than half the games this year? Do you think?
Half the season? Yeah, I feel like yeah, he'll play half the season. He'll play half the
Why
season
you look at me like
because
that to
you have to
start? And
think about
then
it now.
see,
You have to play. I think it's like 60 or 62 games to even be considered for awards. So I think that's gonna
he
entice
didn't
people
get that
players.
last year, did he? He
No,
didn't come
because he
close.
was hurt. He was hurt last year. He
He
was
was hurt.
actually hurt last year. That's what everybody doesn't understand. Like this man has actually been hurt. Like he's not just he doesn't go out game one, go crazy, game two, go crazy, then game three, nah, I just don't feel like playing. No, like he's actually injured. He's actually hurt. He has been hurt. Last year he had a foot injury, a knee sprain, and a torn meniscus. Like you yeah, those are real injuries. You have the main person. Let me tell you, you have the number one person on your team that created this all. Thank you to LeBron James himself. Let's go back to 2013, 2012-13, when the Miami Heat were just so good on top of the Eastern Conference towards the end of the season. LeBron D. Wade said, let's just sit out games. That is on LeBron James. He is the first one, and we could go back all the way back. Thanks to LeBron James, he's the one that started with this load management. That's what everyone forgets. Everyone forgets and wants to say, oh, it's Kawhi Leonard, it's Paul George, these guys. LeBron James started this whole thing 10 years ago, and no
Mm,
one is bringing
mm.
it up. No one. No one's bringing it up. Every time there's a load management article or something on Twitter, The Athletic, ESPN, Bleacher Report, who are they using? The Clippers. They're using
Oh.
Kawhi Leonard and Paul George. They're not using anyone
You
else.
want, you want to know
And
why,
there's
Sean? You
so
want to know
many more
why?
players.
Do you know who Dr. Naismith is?
Yeah, I know who Dr. Naismith is, yes.
How many times do you hear his name nowadays? I don't hear his
I
name
mean,
very often
like,
because that
probably
was
like
back
twice
then.
a year.
He started the NBA way back. He started all this basketball way back, all the way back in the day. This we're talking about now, brother. Kawhi has changed the game for resting like that. And I a little bit of investigative research there. I like that though. You're not wrong about LeBron back there, which is
Yeah.
why it does frustrate me seeing that because I hate seeing players when you go to the game and you spend your hard-earned money and that's all you look forward to, and then they sit out. That pisses
Yeah.
me off more than anything.
Oh, yeah. No, it
Now,
does.
now, like I said, if Kawhi's actually injured, if he's actually like 110% cannot play, and I'm talking about this season specifically here, with
Mm-hmm.
all of these new policies, if we still see him sitting out all this time with no real explanation, because we don't really get too much explanation other than couple blips here and there. I mean, Kawhi is very, you know how he is. I mean, he's a very, very unique individual too, which
Oh, yeah.
also, I think, just also adds to his whole situation too, with people kind of getting on his case, is just because he's an interesting cat to begin with. But yeah, no,
Listen, he's gonna play. He's gonna play as many games as he can. Now, if we see like he sits out back to back, because that's what he was referring to when he was with the Raptors. He wasn't playing back to back when he was coming off a major injury. Now, if we see that again this year, it's been like that for the whole time he's been with the Clippers. He's never played a back to back. Actually, he played one, The only reason he did is because Clippers got blown out by 50 something points by the Denver Nuggets. I do remember that game.
So
It
it
was
takes it
terrible.
takes an ass whooping for him to play. It doesn't take
Yeah,
just the
well, he didn't play
pure
the second
like.
half. He didn't even play the second half. The starting lineup didn't
Yeah, I
even
know,
touch
but
the
like,
ball.
so he could play a half though, but like he can't play like I mean, come on, now. So that's what I'm saying. There's stuff like that where it's just like,
He's
come on
playing.
now, Kawhi, you are a
He's
you're a superstar. It's the same thing, I guess, if you want to with AD too. At least he gets hurt, but he'll come back in a little bit though. He just goes down for a little bit. He just needs a little breather, man. He got bumped.
I, I just like I'm all for the policy, like you said, because like yes, you're using your hard-earned money. These people are going to these games to see these guys, to see these superstars. I'm a victim of it, twice actually. First time I went to the Pistons Clippers game, Paul George or Kawhi Leonard didn't play, so I was just like whoop de doo. That was it. They were both healthy too, because that was the year we went to the Western Conference Finals. And then last year I went right around Christmas time, and I knew it was a back to back, and I said, I know just one of them aren't gonna play. I was just sitting telling my brother because me and him went. I was like, one of them aren't gonna play. I was like, just he goes, oh, I know. I was like, all right, I just want to let you know, just 'cause it's unfortunate. But like you said, man,
Yeah.
like if you're a fan of the game, like yeah, you're gonna hate that. But here's the thing, though: teams and players are gonna find a way around it. They're going to find a way around it. How many times have you seen a player, like we said, at the end of the season? You know, let's go back. Use the example I used with Damian Lillard at the end of the season last year. A calf injury. Yeah, might have a minor calf injury, but you can play. Like you're good to go. Like if it was being for real, like yeah, he'd go out there and play right now. So they're gonna find some way around it. You know, you obviously know that's gonna happen, but he's gonna play every game. I don't understand your whole thing about he's not gonna play every
You
game.
say he's gonna play every game,
Every game he can, Kawhi Leonard's gonna play every game he can.
so we'll see him play in some back to backs this year.
I feel like we'll see him play in one or two set of back to backs
One
this year.
or two.
One or two. That's it. And it's gonna be either
It's
in the
embarrassing.
middle of the season or at the end of the season.
See that's what's embarrassing right there. That's why you might be that guy that goes to that game. I hope actually if you go to one of those games and he doesn't play, I'm pull up this exact podcast right here. I'm gonna say you are completely fine with it because at least he tried. At least he played a couple.
It- He's gonna play as many games as he can. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Same thing. Anthony Davis. Let's talk about Anthony Davis. Is he gonna play all 82 games this year? No, no.
No, he won't play all 82 because he'll definitely probably go down with something. But I'd bet money if I had to pick. Well, I guarantee he's playing more than Kawhi. I'll say that for a fact.
Are we
If I had to
taking
put,
major injuries out? If we take major injuries out
okay,
of
like
this,
obviously, like okay, if a dude busts his Achilles or something like that,
oh,
like
then
I'm
yeah,
not gonna
yeah.
be like obviously, like yeah, you Kawhi didn't play, like, like that's different, obviously. But like you know, you bruise your toe, or you had a late wake up, and all of a sudden now you can't like that. So like, I'm guaranteeing AD would play more. Will play more, barring major injuries aside. I would bet that he plays more than 63, 65 games. 65 games.
Anthony Davis
Yes,
plays more than
confirmed.
65 games.
Yep, confirmed. 100%. That's like a yep. Because I do
So,
think that he will get bumped. I think because he is injury prone. He always does get.
oh yeah, oh yeah.
He does get injured. It does happen.
I feel like he's got a good 62 games in him. 62 to 64, no more.
I'm taking the over. We
60.
might have to we have to play some bets. So we have to do like a
Yeah, yeah, I like that. I like that one.
as we get closer to the end of the season, we should have like a little tally or something somewhere with
Let's do it.
how many more.
No, let's do it. Let's do it. Yeah,
Uh,
that'll be interesting. If
Actually,
we
I'm gonna keep a whiteboard of how many games AD and Kawhi play on the back here or something. So when we do podcasts, it's either gonna come back to haunt me or haunt you, or it's just or we're gonna find out that they actually. What if they both play? 82. What if we see 82 games from Kawhi
If
and AD?
oh well,
Well, that
somebody's
would
getting
mean
hurt in the
Paul George would probably sit out
playoffs.
all 82 then.
Someone's getting hurt in the playoffs, and it's gonna be bad, and it's gonna be at a critical
Well,
moment.
don't say that. Gee, okay, well, we gotta move on. Move on. Move on. We can't be talking like that now.
Let's move on to some other big news coming out of media day this week. The Philadelphia 76ers, James Harden. James Harden was a no-show this week for Philadelphia 76ers in media day. We'll see about that. So the big thing all summer has been about this argument of James between James Harden and Daryl Morey. James Harden came out when he was doing his little tour in China. He came out and said that, Daryl Morey is a liar and he does not want to be part of an organization with Daryl Morey. Which, by the way, smart strategy by James Harden, I'm not going to lie, because China does not like Daryl Morey either. So
No,
it
no,
was
they do
great.
not.
It was great. Like it was a great like marketing strategy. Okay, but so it went on for a couple weeks. James Harden got fined a hefty sum for saying this, and Daryl Morey basically said, "We're not trading him. We're not going to trade him." James Harden wants to go to the Los Angeles Clippers. I guess there were talks between the 76ers and the Clippers, and nothing happened. So trade talks ended, and James Harden was supposed to be on the team. Now, as we come into media day, he was not there. Grant, give me your thoughts on James Harden and this whole fiasco of him once again trying to wiggle his way out of a team before the start of the season.
Let me tell you something, dude. I mean, I'm about done with a lot of people, I guess, today. 'Cause I'm about done with his ass too, to be honest with you, man. I've about had it with James Harden. I'm sick of hearing about him. I'm just sick. I'm sick of him. You can go ruin whatever team he wants to go ruin, or he can go party wherever he wants to go party. But like, I didn't even mind actually, kind of what all the 76ers players, staff, like all of it, like what they were saying at media day, like because right now they're just in this super awkward position of like hey like because James Harden he's not a superstar, he's a certified choke artist, but he's
What is
also
with you in calling people not superstars today? What? Like,
James
you
Harden's
talking
not
about
a
Kawhi
superstar
Leonard's not a
because
superstar. James Harden may not be a superstar, but Kawhi Leonard is a superstar. But keep going.
you better get me riled up today. But no, James Harden's not because he's a certified choker of the playoffs, and he hasn't. I mean, unless you want to bring him back to the superstar days of him being on the Houston Rockets. And that was when, and you wanna know why I think there's a little change there is because when he was on the Houston Rockets, he could literally do exactly what he's doing now, but just no one cared. Like he literally was just
Hmm.
living his best life. He was ISO machine. He was doing all this, and they were actually winning a little bit because he was a superstar back then. Now
Yep.
you see him now. I don't know how you can call him a superstar. I think that's blasphemous if you would call James Harden a superstar now. He's definitely a star. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's a good player. I'm just they're just getting riled up about him because he goes to all these teams. He makes it all about him. It's all about this, thinking he is like the next Michael Jordan, LeBron James, Kareem, Kobe. Like you're not that guy, pal. You're just not. You just
That guy.
I mean you had a good run while you were in Houston. And spoiler here, we might have a little pod going into potentially talking about that Houston Rockets team back in the day or a little bit earlier too. Um, but just yeah, like he knew kind of a little bit more direction back then. You didn't really hear too much about kind of this outside drama stuff. I mean, you knew it was there, but just it wasn't like as prevalent as it is now. I feel like, and it's gotten to this point where like you have such a good talent in Joel Embiid that you could still build around like that team with just him. So just I mean, at this point, I just he's dead weight. You just got to get him out of here somehow because you can still compete. Joel Embiid. I mean,
Oh yeah.
you were. I know you're a Joel Embiid fan.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and I mean, I love Joel Embiid and low key, the team I think he should go to, a team that would be fantastic if we just traded away all of our centers. I would take Joel Embiid on the Detroit Pistons. I would. I would totally take that. Imagine him and
That's
Cade.
interesting,
Could
though.
you imagine a him and Cade? I mean, first off, Detroit would lose it. Like having an
Oh yeah.
actual
Oh
superstar in
oh yeah.
Detroit. I'll see. I'm calling somebody a superstar. A superstar in Detroit.
There we go.
That would be insane. There, I think the people would love it. I kind of think Joel Embiid would like. I don't know. I mean, again, not happening. But man, I like to get on the phone with somebody on some NBA squad and start getting that through the whisperings
Yeah,
because
it's good that you mentioned that because that has been kind of the question I've seen come up recently in the last couple of weeks leading up to media day and training camp. Just could we see after this season if the Sixers don't win it, which I don't think they are, but obviously anything's possible in the NBA.
Sixers.
Will he be traded? Like, will he seek out of Philadelphia? And I think that it's going to come down to like I don't see him being somewhere outside of Philly, but like you could say the same thing about Damian Lillard. Like you didn't see him anywhere outside of Portland.
That's very true. Yeah, like
So like
okay, yeah.
I think anything is possible. I feel like if James Harden does end up getting traded to X team, I feel like Joel Embiid is going to sit here and say like, hey, like what are we doing? We traded the only real superstar or star that we've had in the last 5 years, 4 or 5 years. I'm not counting Ben Simmons. No, I'm not counting Ben Simmons because I dislike Ben Simmons 100%. Like he's fake. Could we see Joel Embiid on the move? It's a possibility. Just it depends on what Daryl Morey feels is best for the team, and I feel like we're gonna find out about that if James Harden is still on the Sixers when we tip off. Now, I don't know about that. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that he could possibly be traded before the season starts?
I kind of lean towards yes. I do see him being traded just because like I think if you're Daryl Morey right now, like I think you just gotta ask yourself like I mean, is this whole like fiasco really worth it? Like, is this whole just dragging this process out just to get the chance of maybe having a certified playoff choker on our team? I just don't think that. So I gotta chill out. I gotta chill out. But I don't. At some point, I think we just gotta like take a step back and just be like, we have some good pieces here that we can either do something now with, try to trade James and try to build maybe a couple pieces around Joel Embiid, try to do something else because I mean they've been trusting this process for the better part of a decade now, and
They've been trusting this process since like we've been in high
it is
school.
it's a decade.
If
It's
you
really been like
really
a
sit down
decade.
and think about it, it's been since we've been in high
A
school.
process is something that you do maybe after like a year. You get the process going, like boom, you got it, you got a path. We're a decade into this process, and we might actually we're straight up regressing. We're going back. So at this point, if 10 years wasn't going to cut it, how much time can you spend in the NBA? Like it's just I think at this point, if you're Joel Embiid too, you got to be asking yourself like, okay, like this was kind of our big shot to put us up there, and if we're like James is gone now, like it's insane to me. I really think that's yeah. I think it's going to be crazy having like just kind of seeing where this goes. I guess from Daryl Morey's point of view and seeing if he wants to get rid of him so badly to the point where it's just like I'll take anything, and you kind of see like a fleece of a deal for James Harden. Or I've kind of heard it kind of seems like they've been a little stingy though, and they're kind of, I think right now they're kind of just like hey like let's try to get everything we can until kind of like
Mm.
we wake up like or like we really kind of dive into this nightmare here because I mean this is it's going to be a very just awkward season for the 76ers.
I feel like and this can kind of be my last thing about this, but I feel like if he does end up showing to training camp, we're going to get 2020 James Harden before he was traded to the Nets. He's gonna bring out the fat suit. You know, it's sitting
Dude,
in his closet right now. He waiting to put it on. He's gonna put this fat suit on. He gonna show up. Then Embiid, yeah, he gonna have
it's
a
just,
problem about that.
yeah. See,
Joel
like,
Embiid is
I
for
hope.
sure gonna have a problem about that. Yeah, yeah.
I wonder if we hear something like even like in one of the practices, if he shows up, just like Embiid, just like rips him a new one. It's just kind of like, yeah, like like dude, like what's going on? Like what are we doing here? Just
Oh yeah.
because like honestly, like I mean, I'm a fan, and I'm just like at that point, like dude, like what are you doing? Like, I just it's just frustrating watching James Harden do all this, and yeah. Anyway, I'll leave it at that with James Harden because yeah, he
We
gets me
we
worked
can
up.
go on about James Harden, and
Oh yeah,
this isn't the first time that we have sat and talked about James Harden
no.
before the season starts. Like this is, it's like you said, sick of it. This is a recurring problem that we're having every season, and it'll be interesting to see how it does pan out. Last thing I have to say about Media Day is yes, I'm gonna bring it up because it's my team and I've obviously watched the most about him. But Russell Westbrook was asked the question if this season was a championship or bust for the Clippers, and he kind of said he doesn't agree with
Mm.
that. And so I haven't seen it yet, but kind of when I thought about that, when he was last year in the locker room, LeBron, he said his spiel and they lost, and Russell Westbrook came up and said, "Hey, win, lose, or draw, we just got there to have fun."
Yeah, yeah.
That's what I thought about when he said that. But I just want your thoughts on it, our season's championship or bust. For teams that are have championship aspirations. If you look at their roster, you could say they have a roster that could possibly win a championship. Is that a real thing? Do you think that championship or bust is that a thing?
I mean, I just think any team really. Obviously, even the teams that like aren't like yeah, like they're competing really, like they have a chance, kind of. Because at the end of the day, you
Mm.
go out there to win. You want to go out there and win the game, but like you obviously want to see like progressive strides of getting better. But at the same time, just like some of those teams, I don't know. See, that's a tough question because like I feel like I would say like the Lakers this year, like I feel like they have a really good roster, like that again, like you say, could potentially win it.
Yeah.
But like I don't think that they're going to win it. So like would I consider a championship or bust? Like no, but if they got to like the Western Conference Finals, like and lost like in seven or something, I mean I would like that's the thing, I don't consider that a bust, but it's not they didn't get to the championship. So like obviously like I think just like that mentality of like we have to win it all, like yeah, I agree with that part of it, but like when it really
Mm.
comes down to it, I guess like I mean no, not really to be completely honest. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I kind of I'm two sides to it. I'll keep it real short. It's two sides to this. If you're a championship level aspiring team, obviously if you have injuries, a catastrophic injury that derails the season, a key player or something like that, that's going to be a factor. So you can't come up there and say like yes, like this is a championship or bust season. Giannis last year after that he got eliminated by the Miami Heat. Talk about that how this season wasn't a bust just because they lost early in the first round. Things are gonna happen. Like the NBA, it's a competitive league. We're we have the best players in the world playing basketball. Like it's not going to be easy, for every team. Every team can't win a championship. It's just not going to happen. So you're going to lose. You're going to get outplayed. There's things that are going to happen. You have to factor into it. So I just feel like for certain teams, yes. So if we're talking about like the Phoenix Suns, like yes, this year is championship or bust for them, just because they have put all of their chips into the center. They're like, here we go. Like, they have Kevin Durant. You traded for Kevin Durant at the end of the trade deadline last year. You traded for Bradley Beal this summer. And you depleted your whole team. Yes, this is championship or bust. But if we're looking like a middle team, like let's say the Indiana Pacers, No, this season isn't a championship or bust. Obviously, the Indiana Pacers aren't going to win the championship.
The Detroit
Okay?
Pistons championship or
And
bust for us.
yeah, they're not going to win the championship. And if they do make the playoffs, I don't see them going past the first round. So, you can't sit there and say, like, oh, yeah, this was a bust of a season because we didn't go to the finals. No, I think for some teams, you have to look at it and it's like, did you improve? Did you get better? Have players shined? Like, that's what you have to incorporate. So, kind of like the championship or bust team thing, like I said, it's kind of a two-sided to that. The last thing from media day that wanted to cover was a lot of reporters yesterday were asking high caliber players. I mean, basically, almost if you were an all-star or an all-star caliber player, you were asked if the Olympics next year was something that you would do. Now, obviously, we saw that the Team USA fell in the FIBA World Cup this year. It was pretty disappointing. So, the question is, are we going to see guys like LeBron, Steph, KD, Kawhi come out there and play so that the U.S. can bring home the gold? It, so, some guys committed yesterday. I know Kevin Durant, he was one. He was like, yes, he will be playing. I know Kawhi, LeBron, I don't know. He basically said why he left. See?
Sorry, I just heard Kawhi playing. My fault. I'm not playing. I'm playing.
But it was multiple guys, staff, uh, other guys, Paul George, I think. Um, De'Aaron Fox was one that he got asked, and he was like, I don't care about that right now. Like, that's the least of my concerns. I don't care. I think it has to do with the coaching staff over there. I don't know. Who knows? But I don't know. What do you think? We're gonna basically give our roster. We're gonna play a little game right here. We're gonna give like a roster of guys that we would like to see play in the Olympics next year to bring that gold home. Now, whether it be like a Redeem Team 2.0, a Dream Team 2.0, it could be anything. I think it's obviously going to be of that caliber because these guys want it bad. But give me your roster, give me your guys that you would like to see, whether it's a starting five, a little bit extra. What is your team that you got to make to go to Paris next year?
Yeah, so I kind of give like a mini starting five kind of here, just kind of break it down a little bit. So some guys I like to see, love to see Steph. Got to see Steph out there running that point guard for us. I think that's a must right there. I think that's going to be huge. Another player I
Mm-hmm.
like to see, kind of somebody we've talked a lot about today already, Jason Tatum. I think he is that star caliber player. So I really like to see him out there because he's just got such a good like scoring game that I think it would complement so well. Especially going with Steph Curry there. Obviously, I'll just mention the guy that's already said that he's going to be there is Kevin Durant. Um, he's already got experience, with playing on the USA basketball team, so I think that's going to help as well. I think that'll be huge. Um, if we're able to get Embiid out there, I think that would also be
Mm.
massive. I think that would be absolutely huge if we could do that. Don't really see. And then of course I gotta get my boy Brown out there. He's gotta be cooking it. Gotta bring that redeem team. Gotta get that goal one more time. I mean, come on now. We can't be losing to some scrubs out here.
Is he going to be the first player to play on the Olympics team with gray hair?
Does Larry Bird have gray hair or no?
Nah, I don't think so.
Yeah, he might though, dude. He might, and yeah, he will. Bro, I wonder how much at that point. You can already see it in his beard,
In the
like where
media
those
day
beards.
clips, you could see it so bad, like on the
Yeah,
sides. Like you could
he's
see, like
old,
bro,
bro.
like you getting
He's
old.
old. He is old. He's like, yeah, he's gonna be 40 basically. He's an old man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He'll be 40 years old by next summer. Imagine him, bro. That would be crazy though. I mean, because they do it overseas. They be old, but
Oh
to see
yeah,
LeBron do
he
it,
could,
I
he could
think
he could run the point guard with them. I mean, he got Steph out there shooting it, Tatum out there shooting it, letting that thing fly, and Embiid if he would be out there letting that thing fly. I mean, you can go through. There's so many. We got guys out there. If you were to get Devin Booker out there, he's
mm,
letting it fly.
Mm.
I mean, you get his teammate out there, Anthony Davis. They already got a good chemistry going there. So I mean, you just have options there. I think. I mean, I think this basketball team that we're going to put out there is going to be pretty star loaded there, and I think it's going to be fun to watch. I sure hope
Yeah.
so because we were kind of embarrassed a little bit out there. We didn't really prepare at all when we were watching. I mean, we kind of talked about the team that they put out there just recently, and the struggles that they had. So it'll be nice to kind of get that kind of refreshment of like, hey, like we still gotta put our best guys out there. Like you can't just go put a freshman team out there and expect them to beat the varsity team.
Nah, yeah, I would agree with that. We can't just put anybody out there, especially because it is the Olympics. So you gotta, best guys gotta play. I kind of want to do like you did, give a starting five that I would
Yeah.
like to see. So obviously Stephen Curry, I would know 100% he would be the guy I'd want to see at point, or Dame. Either Steph or Dame. That'd be
Oh, you
something
get
right
damn right
there.
too.
That
Yeah.
that would be interesting. That would be interesting. But really, at the two, I kind of want to put a guy, and we saw him play this summer in the FIBA World Cup. Was Anthony Edwards.
Oh,
I'm an Ant fan. I'm an Ant Man fan. I'm not gonna lie. I'm an Ant Man fan. I would like to see him uh, continue to play with the Team USA. I would like that. Um, the three, I would say Kawhi Leonard, Kevin Durant, LeBron James, any three of those dudes. You could say Brandon Ingram, but he was kind of terrible this summer, so I would say him. At the four, I mean, you got options at the four. Now, do you want to go small four or do you want to go big four? So if you go small four, you got Kawhi Leonard, you got Jason Tatum. You could put Anthony Davis up there,
you
Julius
put Bam
Randle
if you wanted to go
possibly.
smaller too. You can get Bam.
Yeah, you could get Bam, Jimmy Butler, a center. Now, I wish that you're gonna be shocked at what I say right now. I wish that we could turn the clock just back like 5 years because I would so love to see DeMarcus Cousins play again on Team
Oh,
USA. I just feel
ugly,
like if we got
ugly.
another site at DeMarcus Cousins, I mean, who knows? Like possibly, like maybe he can come, but he's out of the league, so I don't think it's a chance. But if we could get, I think the dream five would be Steph, Ant, KD, Kawhi, DeMarcus Cousins. That that would be
Man,
lethal.
dude, if we got that old school
Lethal.
Boogie Cousins.
Oh, dude, but that's what kids growing up these days will never know about prime DeMarcus Cousins. They will never know about prime Boogie. That man was the best center in the league. Before Jokic and Embiid, it was DeMarcus Cousins. DeMarcus Cousins Demarcus Cousins was the best big in the league. Like kids will not know that today unless, you watch highlights or something like that, but they will never get to see a prime DeMarcus Cousins, which is so like because he was one of my favorite players. Just watching him, he was ruthless. He did not care to the refs
Dude,
too, to
oh
everybody.
yeah, oh yeah, 100%. And was him and Rudy Gay, were they on the same team back then, or was Rudy Gay
On Team
way was that?
USA, I think.
No, no, I'm talking about back like on the Kings or
Oh, on the King? No, no, because Rudy Gay was on the
okay,
Grizzlies.
okay, yeah. It was the Grizzlies back then. 'Cause oh my, he was just going back on throwback players there. Rudy Gay was just another player back in the day that just
Oh, dude,
is these days.
that
That
he's
just
another one that kids will never understand. Rudy Gay, that could be a whole nother podcast. There is a lit, Brandon Roy, Chase McGrady, Gilbert Arenas, um, Darren Williams. I mean, there's a list that people will never like. Kids these days now will never get to see, and it happens all the time. I mean, because obviously it was the same thing with the
yeah.
generation before us. There's some guys that we were never able to see, that I would have liked to be able to see, but just like, oh man, like I hope that if Steve Kerr, Greg Popovich, all those guys, if you hear this, think about DeMarcus Cousins, man. Think about DeMarcus Cousins because that would be great. Uh, But yeah, no. So next summer is going to be big. Obviously, we have a big season ahead of us. So a lot of the guys, some of them, except for Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant, I think, was like the only one that was like, I will play. Other guys, they said depending on the season, how that goes. But I think that you're going to see some big names come to the roster. Last thing I'll say, somebody, I forgot who tweeted it, but somebody was like, they should have a tryout for Team USA. And I was like, yeah, like an in-person like tryout. Like you should try out like for the team. Like we've seen it like kind of before, but it's like only
Hmm.
like select people. But if you get the top 50 dudes in the NBA that are American and you put them in the gym and have them try out for 3 days, those would be some great hoops, great
And
runs.
I'd probably go try out.
I'd try out too. I'd try out too, and when I
I'd
do,
get
I'd
cut
just
so
pass the
fast.
ball. I'd be like, "Go ahead, do your thing." I'd stay in the corner every time, and
I'd
I'd be
walk in
like,
the gym and they'd turn me away. They'd say, "Oh, nope, nope, we're full, we're full." I'm like, I was just here to watch anyway. No, don't worry.
"Oh man, no." I mean, it's worth a shot. You never
Oh yeah,
know. You never
you just
know.
gotta shoot, you know.
Coach
After
Spro's
hitting
on the
threes,
team. He gets those undrafted players. You know what I mean? You just tell him he was an undrafted player out of Grand Valley.
I drafted free agent at a Grand Valley. Come on now,
He goes, let
I
me see
love
your
it.
tape. You pull up a huddle, bro. We'll get you right. Make you a little highlight video. We'll put some runs in, some 3v3s
My
and
coach,
stuff. Record it, put it together.
it's all the highlight tape is all of 30 seconds right here, man. Let me show you. In 10 seconds,
Oh
just look
man,
through.
hey, it's possible. I might have to do that. We might have to think about that.
Uh,
That's basically that is all that we have for today. We're gonna once the season is about 2 weeks away, 3 weeks away. NBA tip off. It's October 24th. Um, so once we get closer to that day, we'll be getting more into the numbers and teams. Obviously, like we said, I don't want to talk about it anymore because I know Grant's annoyed about it, but James Harden, is a big thing to watch before the season starts, if he does end up getting traded. So that'll be one of the bigger storylines. And just watching out for things. You know, just how teams go, how team camps go. Hopefully, we don't see anybody punching somebody in the face like we did last year with Draymond Green and Jordan Poole.
yeah, you never
Hey,
know, I
who
guess.
knows
You know?
these things?
Yeah, well, it could be Chris Paul and Draymond. You never know, man. That's what I'm thinking. I think it could be round two, you know. First day out there, just, you know.
It probably could. Honestly, if I was Steve Kerr, I'd be like, bro, go get the gloves. I'd show up with 2 sets of gloves and be like, put them on.
Yeah,
Two
I think so.
minutes. Go ahead.
Draymond's gonna say something funny. Chris Paul's gonna be like, walk away, you know, all serious like that, and Draymond's gonna find footage of that, bro, and it's on site after.
Until next time, we'll see you guys. This is Ballin' Out.